master research field is terrorism and radicalization. And actually, it is a topic which is quite important in the last year, especially after the 2001, after the great attempts in the United States. So now we have another kind of terrorism, which differs quite a lot from the classical examples or models of terrorism. So we have a jihadist terrorism. I would rather speak about the jihadist terrorism and not about the Islamist terrorism, just because of the fact that I would not like to connect the terrorism to any religion. Actually, the terrorism is a political phenomenon, not the religious phenomenon, and it cannot find its explanation in the framework of the religion. But speaking about the jihadism for me is rather a political ideology and not the religion. That's why I'm saying that I prefer to speak about the jihadist terrorism. So you know that the international jihadist terrorism, it was born in Afghanistan, and Azam was the first leader of the international mujahideen. After that, you know that they meet with Osama bin Laden. They had quite a difficult relationships. At the beginning, they agreed on the course of the action, to tell in this way. But after that, Azam has been killed, and many people suppose that it has been killed by Osama bin Laden, just because they had some differences and different views in the future of mujahideen. So in Afghanistan, we had the formation of this international jihadism, and after that, the second point or the second place, it was Bosnia. You know that many of these persons who had to leave Afghanistan after the end of the war, which has been put in 1988. Okay, many of them, some of them decided to stay in Afghanistan, to marry local women and to have their families then. Another decided to return to their countries, but one part, and it was a significant part, they decided to go to Bosnia. And Bosnia was their new cause. You know, so after that, Islamic State is the third cause, to say in this way, of the international jihadism. That's why we see so significant, so relevant concentration of foreign fighters in the so-called caliphate. And speaking about the radicalization, I would like to say that before making the prevention of the radicalization, we should know which are the causes of the radicalization, which are the factors that generate radicalization. And I would like to mention here that there is no unanimity among European and not only European scientists. In the international scientific debate, we have several views. First of all, I would like to say that we have an European and an American view. The European view says, if you think about the radicalization and if your speech is radicalized, so you are radicalized. At that time, the American approach is saying, no, you can speak what you want because this is the free speech. You are radicalized, only you violate the law. So if you have done something, so you see that the Americans and the Europeans, we have different views on this phenomenon. And apart of that, in the international debate, we have several these are models, probably not models, but models of radicalization, because all of these models, they need more empirical proofs. But anyway, so the European approach says the radicalization is related to the lack of integration. But finally, what we see and what we saw in Barcelona, that we had 14 persons quite well integrated there. And at the same time, they've been able to kill so many people in Barcelona and also in other cities in Spain. So I think that these mean at least two things. Or this means that probably the terrorism and radicalization are not related to the integration first, or second, we should rethink the integration, because up to now we have considered that to be integrated, this means to take part in the life of the community, this means to speak the language and to have some income which gives you the chance to live in a decent way, to say in this way. So all these three conditions were covered for the perpetrators of Ripoll, and actually we saw that they, despite of this, they did this terrorist attack. So the second model explaining the radicalization is the model that says that the radicalization is a rational choice. The rational choice, and I am loyal to an organization which provides to me certain social services that the state does not provide to me. And that's logical. When we speak about the social services, we speak about social services in the wide sense of the world. The service to find your identity, to have the safety, to have your fight, etc., etc. So you have also another approach which say that radicalization, this is the famous model of the New York police department, which say that all this has to do with the ideology. Actually, it is also explicable, taking into consideration that here in Europe we have become victims many times of ideology. Just remember about Hitlerism in Germany and about the Stalinist period in the Soviet Union, and you can see which is the mortal strength of the ideology. So before making prevention, we have to know which are the root causes of the terrorism. When we identify these root causes, we would be able to do so. I would like to say that our research should be very, very contextualized. So probably what works in Spain does not work in Bulgaria, and what works in Bulgaria does not work in Morocco. Almost 10 years ago, English government called the school the first line in the fight against the terrorism. So I consider that the first line probably is the family, but the second line is really the school. And actually the school could do quite a lot just because of the fact that all the children should go to the school. So this scholarization is a nationwide phenomenon, and actually teachers and children pass quite a lot of time in the schools. In 2015, we had an European meeting of the European Ministers of Education and also teachers who had that they need some support in order to be able to fight the radicalization. The first support is to get some certain training, because the radicalization is a new phenomenon. So if you as a teacher is not able to identify the features of the radicalization, so it would be very difficult to work with this. In the second place, the teachers wanted a red line. So a red line, you mean the red telephone line to which they could call at any time in order to ask for advice, in order to ask for support, in order for asking for additional information. So in the third place, and I think that it is very important, is the close cooperation between the school and the parents. Because we had, for example, in France, the phenomenon that many parents, they put the guilt on the school, that the school didn't alarm them that their children are radicalized. And you see, in the fourth place, this is a work in the local community. Because actually the local community is this community that could integrate or disintegrate you. Going further, it is quite important the control on internet. You know that in internet we have just now quite a lot of materials that can contribute to the self-radicalization of the children. You understand that we cannot put a parent or a teacher nearby each child. We cannot put a policeman nearby any person suspected in radicalization, but we can teach the children to say no to the violence, to the terrorism, to the radicalization. Again, when we speak about the women, we should be very contextualized, because the motivation of the women have been quite different. For example, I've been able to interview 53 persons in Central Asia who have been traveling to to ISIS, and after that returned to their countries, to Kazakhstan and to Kyrgyzstan. And they had quite a different motivation, I think that when we're speaking about the methodology of the investigation of the research of the motivation, we can share many things with the methodology of investigation of the Spanish Civil War. So many people came here, but they came with different motives. So, for example, the women from Central Asia, most of them, they came. It was very interesting for me. For example, the girls from the last year of the medical faculties, many of them, they went to Islamic State. And at the beginning, I thought that this is due to their profession, so to the medicine, to the will to help, etc., etc. But finally, it was not true. The real motive were that when they studied then 9 years medicine, and when they are in the last year, they are already 27 to 88, so they are too old and unable to marry and to have a family. And then too, because the norms of the Kyrgyz society tells you are okay to be married when you are 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, but 27, you are very old. And they went there with aspiration and with the will to make a family, to find their beloved men, their beloved husbands, to realize and to fulfill their Muslim identity, Muslim female identity, as they understood them. To have a husband, to have children, to have a house, to keep them, etc., etc. Many people from Europe went. Many women from Europe, they went by another reasons. For example, we have the example with the Crazy Sally, from UK, who went there with a willing to kill the adversaries or the enemies of the Islamic State, and even though she is now dead, unfortunately, but when alive, she put a small clip in the YouTube, saying that she believes that she could be the first woman who will be able to kill the persons, the enemies of the Islamic State. Her son, who appeared also a photo of her son with, sorry to say this, with the head of the person killed, etc., etc. So you have another persons already there who went there just because they were misguided. They believed that they will find them the perfect conditions for the education of their children. For example, I spoke with a lady from Central Asia in Istanbul. She was going to Islamic State with her son, and the child was only 3 years old. And I asked her, why are you going there? It is not safe for the child. And she said, no, I'm going there because I believe that the caliphate is a perfect milieu, perfect surrounding for my child, and in the future for my children, who will grow far from narcotics, from drug, far from violence, far from alcohol, from extramatrimonial sexual relations, etc., etc. She believed that this is a perfect state for her, for her children, in the future for her children. That's why I'm saying that there are different motives, and we should be very, very exact when we try to do so, and when we try to investigate this. And we have to take this when we are speaking about the de-radicalization and about the sanctions and punishment of all these women. We had already the case in in UK. So in UK, according to the law, any person who has been participating in a foreign terrorist organization should be sentenced. And we have already the case where the lawyer said that, okay, so the husband, he joined the Islamic State and he participated in the battles, but why should her wife be sentenced if she did what any Islamic and Muslim woman would do? She just followed her husband. In this way, he said she didn't make any bad thing. She just completed with the duty of any Muslim women, and that's it. Probably the first thing is that accept that we have a problem. Because for many years in Central Asia, I saw that the governments tried to reject that they had problem. At the beginning, it was said that their citizens didn't go to Islamic State, etc., etc. So first of all, we have to agree that we have a problem. The second thing is to work with the moderate Muslims. I think that the Muslims the Muslim religion, the Islam, should be reformed, but it should be reformed from outside. It should be reformed from inside. That's why the only successful intents to do so is when these intentions have been made by the moderate Muslims. I think that the moderate Muslims suffer quite a lot, and not less than we from the radical Islam. That's why we should cooperate with them. We should foster the religious tolerance, and at the same time, I think that probably this is the first condition to support the rule of law and to agree that anybody who lives in a country, be it Muslim or Christian or local people or autochthon people or immigrant, should respect the law.